Welcome everyone to the Feeling Good Therapist, where we learn a lot of different tools and techniques to help you in your private practice, or in your practice rather, and also in your daily life if you wanted to use it. And today we have Michelle Woodward, who will be teaching us a really awesome technique called Humorous Imaging, a technique created by Dr. David Burns.
As you said, my name is Michelle Woodward. I'm a mental health therapist in the state of Washington and in Idaho. And I recently got more familiar with this method of humorous imaging through working with Tyann Trong, who many people know as an amazing team CBT trainer and therapist. And her application of it as it is kind of an antidote for anger when there's some relationship conflict. And so today I'll be bringing it to life here with you, Richard. And so when we use this method, we of course, our client has a relationship that is bothering them and is creating some upsetting feelings and usually some anger. And so we would just ask the client then to just share briefly first about a moment of conflict when the bothersome behavior is happening and like kind of how they responded. And so in the example that we're going to use today, you're going to be in a married relationship, and you'll be kind of bothered by your spouse. You're asking them to help out with making appointments for the kids, and they've agreed to do that, and then they're not following through. So how does that sound, Richard?
That sounds great. Let's do it.
Okay, great. So also first we want to so I'll just have you share a little bit about that moment, Richard. We'll start with that moment when you're feeling let down and angry when your partner hasn't followed through.
Well, Michelle, I'm just kind of thinking a lot about my relationship with my wife, and I've been like asking her to make these really important doctor appointments for our kids, and she'll say she'll do it, and it's already been 3 weeks, and I've been asking her, reminding her. I even told her, if you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it, but she really persists and tells me she'll do it and not to call, or she'll be really upset. I'm just getting really angry and really frustrated with her.
Yeah, it sounds like it's very frustrating that you've asked and she's agreed, and you've been waiting and kind of giving her space to make it happen, and then she's not following through. And I'm sure that you're probably, along with the anger, maybe feeling a bit worried and about making sure your kids are taken care of, and whether you can really count on her and to make sure your kids are well cared for. And I could understand why you'd be feeling frustrated and angry, for sure. And I'm wondering what your current level of anger is right now, if on a scale of 0 to 100%.
Oh, probably like 80%.
80%?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's pretty high. It's pretty painful. Pretty irritating, I'm sure. And what would you say? What would you like? How much anger would you like to feel in this case? You've talked about wanting some relief from feeling angry with your wife. How much would you like to feel?
Maybe like 30%.
30%? That would be so nice, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
To feel that 50% less angry. Yeah. It probably would be a lot easier to interact with her and to talk about it with her, if you could feel that much less intensely of that anger, right? So today my thought was that we could use this method called humorous imaging, and it can be used for anxiety. And it's a creative method. It can also be used for anger, because humor can kind of be an antidote for anger. And so maybe we're not ready to dive into using the 5 secrets or some other tools, but maybe this can help us feel a little bit less intensely angry when some bothersome behaviors occur in our relationships. And so what you do is you just kind of envision the other person in a very humorous way that's realistic to them, like that really represents their behavior and the environment that it's in. And I'll ask you questions to kind of help you bring that to life. And so it's just a creative process. So for example, I had a client who was really, really angry with her boss, and she imagined her boss to be this sort of giant-sized queen who was like smoking cigars and like frantically sending off emails that were criticizing everybody in the office, and like running on a treadmill at the same time. And it just seemed like she it was funny, but also through the process she kind of felt some compassion too, and in that space kind of the anger kind of dissolved somewhat. So hopefully we can bring that to life here with this example. So does that sound good? Are you okay with moving forward with this method?
Yeah, I'm happy to give it a try.
Okay. So in this scenario where your spouse is not following through and you're feeling so bothered by that, and so angry, how big is she?
Honestly, I think she's kind of pretty tiny. Like she can't really do anything because she's so small.
She's just tiny, teeny tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah. About how big would you say? Like an ant, or
Yeah, maybe kind of like a ant size.
ant size? Yeah. And is she a certain color, or
Yeah, a color. Um, Maybe kind of like a really bright green color, something like really visible.
bright green?
Yeah.
Okay. It's just like really stands out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is she a person in this, or is she actually an ant?
Um,
Hmm.
I guess she's like a very miniature person.
Person? She's a person, but just very miniature, that ant
Mhm.
size. And how old is she in this scenario?
How old is she?
Yeah,
Um, Maybe she's kind of like a 5-year-old, a
a
miniature
5-year-old.
5-year-old.
She's just okay. And what is this 5-year-old ant-sized bright green person doing and saying that kind of reflects this pattern, this bothersome pattern for you?
Yeah, well, if I kind of imagine it, she's probably saying like, I'll do it, but then it's like she's having a hard time doing it because she's very tiny and small and she's visible.
Hmm.
So you see that she's there and that you see that she says she'll do it, but she actually doesn't because she's so small and she's not able to.
Okay. Yeah, she's so small. She's saying she's going to do it, but she's having a hard time doing it.
Mm.
Um, as you're describing this, are there other humorous details that come up in this scenario?
Yeah, I'm just kind of like picturing her trying to call this, and there's like this giant phone in front of her. Yeah, she's so tiny and she's having a hard time dialing. And then even when she's talking on the phone, it's like it's a little squeaking because she's so small and people can't really hear her.
Yeah. So she's just this tiny little thing just dialing and
Yeah.
really trying to talk, but not really being able to communicate. And this giant sized phone in the scene. Yeah. As you're describing this, how are you feeling, Richard?
Yeah, it's just kind of funny to kind of think about. But kind of like the more that I also think about it is I think it is kind of like hard for her, not because she's so small, but because I know she has a lot of anxiety kind of talking to people. And
Hmm.
it's like really difficult for her to like even pick up the phone and call someone. So
Yeah.
I definitely have a little more compassion for her there.
Yeah. Yeah. In this scenario, what would you say would be the best way for you to respond to this tiny ant-sized bright green woman who's trying hard to dial on a large phone and communicate through that?
Oh no, definitely with a lot more compassion, kind of letting her know. I know it's like really challenging and really tough, and it's hard to kind of pull yourself to do these things. I love to hear more about it because it sounds like it's been pretty challenging. It's on top of mind, and you've been trying to do this, and just want to understand a little bit what's been challenging.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the next piece to this is to kind of bring to mind a moment when you're feeling really angry that she hasn't followed through.
Mhm.
Can you think of a moment? You don't have to describe the moment to me. You can just kind of call it to mind.
Yeah, I'm definitely picturing it right now.
Yeah. And then kind of check in with your anger and then bring to mind this humorous image.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, just maybe share what that's like for you.
Yeah. It's kind of like remembering that moment and make me feel a little bit upset and angry, but then imagining this kind of humorous image of her, it's a little funny to kind of think about. And also a lot of compassion, like someone who's really struggling, like maybe a little kid who um doesn't really know how to do things, but they're trying and it's hard for them, and you have some empathy, but it's also a little funny at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. And how angry do you feel right now, Richard?
Maybe like a 30%.
30%?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, great. Um, we can stop there.
Great. Let's pause here. Thank you, Michelle, for such an awesome demonstration of humorous imaging. If everyone wants to learn more about Michelle, you can find a description of her below. If you're wanting to learn more skills and tools, feel free to subscribe to this channel. Thank you, everyone.